What he needed to do is not accept bottom position ever. For him to have any shot grappling with me, he could not have accepted any of the bottom position.
Oh! First of all, introducing our challenger. Out of the blue corner. He's going to step in and he does. It's all over. Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, everybody, welcome back and thank you for joining me here once again on the Eternal Insiders Podcast. We are being joined today by the man who successfully defended his Bantamweight Championship for the very first time last weekend at Eternal 82, that stack card at the HBF Stadium in Perth, Western Australia. It's the Bantamweight Champion himself, Rod Costa, back on the show for the second time in about as many weeks, and it's always a pleasure to have him here. So, Rod, welcome back in again, brother. How is things feeling for you? Are you enjoying the win? I know you're nursing a little bit of an injury there, but we're looking good, man. How are you feeling?
Hey, look, good to talk to you again. I'm feeling good, man. I think you can call this an injury, but honestly, it's just visually.
It's a shiner. It's a shiner.
It looks a lot worse than it feels.
That's fair. That's fair enough,
But,
man.
yeah.
It's all part and parcel of the game, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm used to getting a little bit beat up as the fights go.
I mean, it's no different to the training room, right? I mean, I've definitely talked to you after some like training and sparring sessions, that sort of thing. You've come out looking the same, so you're probably used to it by now.
Yeah, but to be honest, this looks very, very bad. But this was in the second round. I took him down, and he, I think part of his game plan is to do damage from the floor, from the top or from the bottom. And he did. If he did anything well in that fight, he hit me with a very good elbow. I caught it straight away when he hit me from the bottom, which made me so angry because you don't want to get punched when you're on top, And it was just a glancing elbow that made my eye blow up, So training room is a lot worse.
Okay, because I couldn't really pick the exact moment as to when that happened. I just remember you were coming after one of the rounds, like, oh shit, like your eye's a little bit swollen. I was like, I don't really remember seeing you take a punch. So it was on the ground that you took that sort of elbow. I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, so from the second to the third, sorry, they're just putting the roller window down.
She's all good, brother. Yeah.
From the second to the third, I took him down, and I tried to look for the shot, and I couldn't see the shot either. The angle wasn't good enough, but he hit me with a good elbow from the bottom, like an up elbow or something, and I just felt straight away, like in the fight's weird. You kind of feel things, and you're like, in your head, you're like, oh, good shot, but it doesn't really hurt. But then from the second to the third, you can see. I'm asking the corner, how bad is the eye, and they're like, forget about the eye, and I'm not worried, but and then the cut man there is awesome, and he did a good job, and the eye blew up after the fight. My eye was fully closed like a little golf ball.
Yeah, I mean, like considering that, man, because it did start to swell up like right in front of us during the fight. Like, you're like Wolverine, brother. It's going down pretty quick. So you got that. There's nice healing properties about you. So it's only a good thing. I was going to ask you this a little bit later in the conversation, but on that, you're talking about the cut man sort of, keeping a pretty close eye on it. Did you have anxieties about it blowing up a bit too much and potentially having the fight waved off at all?
Not at all. It's funny because I was in the corner, and sometimes there's been a couple of times where I asked Ben something, but I'm just like kind of asking for information. I'm pretty relaxed in the corner, to be completely honest. Even I feel the Jenkins fight, which I'm sure you saw, and I'm getting beat up and it's pretty bad, and my leg is the worst. I feel like I'm maintaining pretty calm in the corner, and I'm just kind of just trying to relay information or ask information. And literally that's what happened. I could feel that I could feel when he hit me, and I could feel that the eye blew up. So I remember asking him, and I think he thought I was worried because he was like, "No, don't worry about the eye. The eye is good." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not worried. I just want to know, is it bad, And then the corner man even told me, I was like, "Nah, your eye is fine." And then and he did a really good job because I could still see during the fight. Didn't get me bothered at all. And then after the fight, like when I went to dinner with my mates and family and stuff, the eye was fully closed.
Oh man, so it kind of closed over. Like, I mean, there's no right time for it to close over, but at least it waited until dinner after the fight to fully close over.
Exactly.
Nice. I noticed you were still having a bit of fun there on Instagram today, man. I mean, a couple of extra barbs after the fact and everything. Still having a bit of fun there, I see.
I came back on Instagram just for that.
I like it, man. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I think there was that moment there. Look, hey, we give as good as we get, right? And I mean, he certainly gave plenty before the fight. So I think I did see that post about, Alan saying the fight was never going to go to the ground. So I know you were reveling in that just that little bit that you sort of would take him down at will. You must have been enjoying that.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing is him saying that even if the fight went to the ground, he was gonna hurt me from the ground and he's gonna grapple me and this and that, and it's just I think that's the risk you run when you say dumb stuff, you know. I've said my share of stuff that didn't come to fruition, and I've had my share of fun against other fighters and stuff, but I don't think I ever just said stuff just for the sake of saying without ever believing it, you know. I could tell as soon as the grapple happened that he's got no chance, and he knew he had no chance, you know. You can feel those things in the cage.
I mean, just in terms of that build up to the fight, with everything sort of being said back and forth, I know that you sort of had your piece to say in terms, how much shit he likes to talk and that sort of thing. And, you referencing now just, saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. I mean, that's all well and good before the fight. Did you sort of feel a certain way, like getting into the cage and sort of seeing him across the other side as the fight's being announced? Like, how did you sort of feel emotionally in that sort of moment? Did it sort of stir anything up in you that you really wanted to get after him just because there was that little bit of venom before the fight, or was that completely a non-factor for you?
I honestly think it wasn't a factor at all, because I worked really hard on not letting it affect me to the point. Obviously, I didn't like it, but I really understood. I feel like I'm somewhat experienced now, and I really understood that if I go in there with anger or with too much emotion, I think that's the only way he can actually capitalize on anything, you know. So I worked really hard on remaining calm, and I think I did. But straight after, when he tapped, I feel like there was a little bit, not relief, a little bit of emotion being let out, you know. I've seen him do this before. He talks all his stuff, and then he tries to be your buddy, but it's like, I'm not proud. You know, I own a gym. I look at how people are gonna look at me, and how I can influence people, and what example I'm gonna set. So I'm not like proud that I pushed him away, but when you see I pushed him away, but when he comes back a second time, I shake his hand. But then he goes too far. Like, he wants to hug me. Like, we're not friends, you know. We're not gonna be friends because of how you acted, and I'm okay with that. We're never friends anyway. I never liked you as a mate anyway, and I don't need a hug. You know, I'm okay with a handshake. You know, I respect anyone that I fight, win or lose. I said this before. I respect him. I respect his skills and all of that, but I still don't respect him as a competitor, win or lose. Even if he beat me, I don't respect him as a competitor. You know, so that was just a little bit of emotion coming out.
And how about his skills in terms of a fight, in terms of being a fighter? How did he sort of shape up compared to what your expectations of what he would bring to the cage when he faces you?
Yeah. Look, man. Again, I don't want to put a man when he's down, but I'll be honest with what I feel. You know what I thought about this. You know what I feel? I train. He talks about being an elite grappler, and elite striker, and he talks about his striking a lot. He talked about his striking a lot in the interviews. I thought a lot about this. I train with real elite strikers, right? I spar with Wes Kappa. I spar with Jack Della. I spar with Josh Della. I spar with Khan. I spar with those guys almost every day. When I spar with Wes, I'm scared inside. You know what I mean? He's a friend of mine. He takes care of me, but I can feel the shot that he pulls back. I can feel when he's taking it easy on me. I can feel those things. When I spar with Dell, it's the same thing, you know? He goes hard and they punch me, and they helping me in that way, right? Like, they're going hard on me, but I can feel an elite striker, right? To me, an elite striker is someone that can do damage, you know? I can feel those guys can do damage if they want it. If I fought Wes, I wouldn't want to strike with him at all, right? Let's imagine we're with the same weight. I want to grab his leg instantly, you know what I mean? And same thing goes with Della and some of the other guys I spar with. But with him, I stood up with him for however long of that round, like most of the first round, half of the second round, and some of the third round. I didn't feel in danger at all at any point. You know, there's guys always. I understand that if you look at the fight, I'm not saying I want. If you just score based on the striking, I'm not saying I won the strike or anything, but I challenge anyone to tell me one punch that he landed that did any damage at all on the feet. That's his area of expertise, right? That's the elite striker. Where did you hurt me at all in 10 minutes of striking, you know? So that's my honest opinion about him. He looks fluid, right? It's kind of like, you know, is he a really good boxing for fitness person? They look good on the pads. They, you know, like I'm not saying he looks very elite. He looks way smoother than me. He threw way more than me. But I honestly, I challenge anyone to tell me what strike did he land on me. You know, I'm rambling a little bit, but I'll finish my thought with saying this, right? I'm elite at my art. I am. I'm not trying to be cocky, but I'm elite at grappling. I've done, you know, I've competed against the best in the world. I've medaled multiple times, not one lucky time at Worlds. If that's what happens when an elite person goes against someone that's just good. That's what happens. You see me and him on the floor, that's what happens, you know? So that's my thought about me and him, skill-wise.
I mean, just on that too, as far as like your chops as a grappler and everything. I mean, there was a moment in the fight where he tried to, you know, throw up an armbar on you at some point there. In terms of the levels, and I mean, your reaction there just sort of, you know, at least gives me some insight as to maybe what your answer will be. Yeah. But, you know, you said at no point in the fight did you sort of feel any danger. What was the danger level you were feeling when that armbar attempt went up?
It's the same as the guillotine, you know, like it was never closed, it would never be closed, and look, man, he might submit a blue belt from my gym with that armbar, you know. Honestly, that arm. It's funny because a friend of mine, I was talking to a mate of mine. I don't want to name any names, but I was talking with a mate of mine. He was like, and he knew exactly what happened. I positioned myself in a way, angling myself in a way, obviously trying to throw punches and this and that. That he would go for an armbar so I can defend and pass his guard. You know, that's a bait. You know, the guillotine wasn't a bait. I didn't pull my head out on purpose, but that guy is not guillotining me in 1,000 years, unless I'm hurt, unless he damages me first and I'm not there, you know? So, it's just what he needed to do is not accept bottom position ever. For him to have any shot grappling with me, he could not have accepted any of the bottom position. I knew I was going to win as soon as I took him down, and he's spending energy punching me, elbowing me, even though he did this, right? But he's spending a lot of energy and putting a lot into punches that were doing no damage instead of doing what he needed to do, which is create a scramble, do not let me settle, and make sure that I'm spending energy to keep him where I want him to keep. I didn't have to spend any of that energy. As soon as he was down, he accepted bottom position, which let me work, you know, if that makes sense. So it's just inexperience. It's a lifetime of grappling he needs to do to try to catch up on these things, you know.
No, I'm glad you said that, because that was I did want to ask you that question in terms of being in that position, and you know, someone, you know, I guess of his acumen with the grappling that he has against someone like you, that's a completely different level. And you know, maybe if you're, you know, someone looking at it from the outside looking in and seeing Alan throw up an armbar on someone like you in that position who very much knows how to deal with that sort of thing when you're not hurt or anything like that. Yeah. It's good to sort of get that insight as to, you know, what not to maybe do in that sort of position, you know, for someone that wants to learn that sort of thing. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's sort of that very interesting side of mixed martial arts that not everybody sort of understands. I think that we're all sort of quick that as soon as you see an armbar getting thrown up or you see a triangle get thrown up, that the viewer will immediately think there's danger here, and maybe there is. But it's cool to hear from someone like yourself. And I know it's not you bigging yourself up or anything like that, but you know, you had to sort of share that insight of, you know, you knew exactly where the position was and you knew where there was sort of no danger. It's not happening in 1,000 years. It just shows the level like the levels there is to this sort of game, and it's very impressive, man. But I also want to talk to you about the finish. Of course, you spoke to me prior to the fight, and I asked you, you're not the kind of guy that likes to give any predictions on the fight, but you did say, if and when it goes to the ground, he will give me something. He will give me something. He ultimately did give you something, and you said after the fight that, hey, the head and arm chokes on the bottom, they don't happen. He was looking for a way out. I'll die in here. Can you elaborate a bit on that, I guess, from your expertise about, someone who doesn't know about head and arm chokes on the bottom, you saying that, he's going to give you something. Can you talk us through what you sort of meant by that doesn't sort of happen? Yeah. Is that something that really is that like out of the blue, or is this like you selling yourself short as to how good you are?
Yeah. Good points. First I'll say, like, obviously, like, for example, if you watch my fight with Ethan, right? If he throws an armbar, I'm in real danger, right? He's elite. He's very good. But like when I'm, if you go back to that fight, when I'm grappling with Ethan, I'm not letting it get to that point, and he's not letting it get to that point either. Because if either one of us sinks a submission, that's real danger, right? Like with Philpott, I can just risk a lot of things because I want him to move and I want him anyway, to and then leads me to get into position. But in terms of the finish, obviously I'm having a little bit of fun, right? I said what I said. I didn't mean it what I said. I knew he was gonna quit. He did quit. It's not like an obvious quit where he's like, it's a subtle quit, and the submission. So if you look at the fight, I take his back, right? He starts building up, which is good. That's what he needs to do. I punch him twice, I think, real hard, hard punches. I punch him maybe 3, 4, 5 times. A couple of those hit really hard, and he collapses and goes down instantly, right? That's in itself the start of the giving up, right? You can't give up on yourself. And before I even talk about the submission, I'll say this. He called me a punching bag, right? You need to be tough to be a punching bag. You know what I mean? He's not tough enough for me to be able to do damage to him because he quits before I'm able to do the damage. You know what I mean? If he was tough, if he really wanted to be there, and if he would give his life, metaphorically speaking, in the cage, I would have done a lot more damage before I got the submission. Cool. I hope people understand that, and people that the real ones understand what I'm trying to say. So a couple of punches, he kind of gives up, bottom position again, and then what I said about the submission that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. If he didn't tap, he will go out. But what I mean about the quit in that position, Luke, is there is a choice, right? So he sweeps me. He reverses, right? So I'm on top. I'm setting up a head and arm. He reverses and hands up on top. What happens then? I have 2 options, right? I kept the head and arm. I can either go to the back, so I keep climbing to the back, hide the arm, keep climbing to the back, and then I take the back again, right? Or I can use my left leg as a hook, flip him again because now he doesn't have a base to my right hand side, end up on top again, and then I'll finish the head and arm from top. That's what will happen if I have, for example, that's what my strategy would be if I was grappling with Jack Baker, for example, who doesn't give up positions and doesn't tap easy. I would have to sweep him. But as soon as he ended up on top and I had the head and arm, I could hear him struggle. You know what I mean? I could hear him like gargling for air, and I can hear the struggle. So in my mind, he's ready to go. He's ready to give up. And then I just squeeze a little bit and he tap quick. Like any tough grappler or any tough, you don't even have to be my level of grappling. If you're just tough, you can't tell your opponent your pain. You know what I mean? You have to keep your pain inside. You can't. I tell even my students that are hobbyists that train once or twice a week, don't show anyone your pain. Keep your noise on the inside. Stop with the You know what I mean? Don't make a noise. Don't put your hand out there before you're ready to tap, showing the person that you're rolling, that you're about to tap. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean with the give up. I'm having a little bit of fun, but it's real. He showed me that he was ready to go, and I just squeezed a little bit and he tapped.
It's great stuff. I'm learning a lot here. I feel like we're getting a free seminar, man. I feel like we're going to have to put up a bit of a GoFundMe and send in some coin for you here, man, because you're giving us a lot of the tips and tricks of the trade and everything. But I mean, I love this stuff, man. Like I would listen to you talk about, this part of the game all day. I think this is one of the my most favorite conversations I've ever had with you, man, is hearing your thought processes and how you're sort of thinking through those moments and just knowing what to sort of do in those moments. It's very fascinating stuff. And like I said, I'd sort of listen to it all day. I do want to ask you in terms of, after the fight, you mentioned that, there seemed to be some challenges that you had sort of coming into the fight and everything. You didn't sort of elaborate on that too much. Wondering if that's something you could potentially talk about. It's up to yourself whether you'd like to, but, not everyone comes into the fight, 100%, but it seems like you did have some things that you did have to go through.
Yeah, again, nothing that did bother me in the fight. That's the first reason why I'll talk about it. So it didn't affect me in the fight at all. If it had affected me in the fight, win or lose, I'll probably keep it to myself. And if I had lost, either way, I wouldn't talk about it because, that's an excuse if you lose. But what happened was I had a real bad ear infection. It started kind of slow and my ear was blocked and I couldn't hear. Yeah. So I couldn't hear. I lost complete hearing from my left ear. Anyway, I come to the gym one day on a Monday, like 2 weeks before the fight, and I went to the gym and I told man I gotta go. I went straight to the ER. I couldn't touch my ear. It was so painful. My ear was blocked, and anyway, that lasted. I was on antibiotics then for 8 days. And for 8 days, I couldn't hear anything. The pain wouldn't go away. I couldn't train. All I did is I came to the gym and I did a lot of cardio, I was lucky because I had already done 90% of my training. So I was already really fit. The sparring had been done, most of it anyway. And the grappling had been done. It was just stressful, It was very stressful. And the medicine, the antibiotics that I was on two antibiotics. I think it messed with my weight. So I wasn't losing the weight normally as I normally lose when I go down to bantamweight, and it was stressing me out. And you can just imagine. I don't want to keep harping on about it, but it was just a very stressful time. And I was trying to keep positive. I didn't want to think about what would happen if the pain wouldn't go away. But I went to the ER twice. The first time I went, the lady just said, "Yeah, have this in a few days. You should be feeling better." And it was just getting worse. And it literally took 8 days, But finally, on a Sunday, I woke up with no pain. I think it started on Friday or whatever. The real pain where I couldn't train started on Monday, and then from Monday to the first day without pain was Sunday. And I called one of my mates, Ming, that hangs out the back with me, and one of my best training partners. And I was like, it was a Sunday, and I was like, Ming, we got to go and do some rounds, man, And then poor little Ming did like an hour and a half with me on Sunday, me just doing some grappling to sweat and to feel like, am I good, and I was good. So very, very stressful. I've never had any ear infection. I couldn't believe that was happening. I'm like, am I going to have to pull out? What is going to happen, because I couldn't literally touch everything on the side of my face was so painful. so that's what I was dealing with. It's just made it real stressful, the lead up to the fight, but thank God by the fight everything was done.
No, I'm glad you're okay, man. First and foremost, obviously your health is what sort of comes first. But selfishly glad you got to the fight and we got to see you sort of put it on another time.
Same.
But
can you imagine if I had to pull out?
Oh man,
so bad. People talk so much shit. He would say I'm scared. He would say I'm running.
I've no doubt that's there too. Like, it'll fucking give him something to say. Like, if it sort of happens. So I mean, look, I didn't ask you too much about this because I didn't want to pry, but I mean, we had a podcast scheduled for a night, and I was sitting here ready to go, and you weren't here, and I reached out and you said, look, I've got something going on, you know what I mean? I didn't want to ask, and I thought, all right, I'm going to let Rod sort of do his thing and sort of get fit. So, that's me hearing that for the first time. That's what you're dealing with, man, and that's some wild shit. So glad you got through it, man, and we got to defend that bantamweight title.
I didn't want to say it because if I say it and then I fight and then I lose, and it's comes out, So but now that I won and no harm, no foul, that's fine to share,
100%, man. No, thank you for sharing. It's much appreciated. I mean, you just talk about the weight cut in general. Just one last one before you go. Cutting down to bantamweight, obviously for the second time. The first time we win the title, the second time we defend the title. Challenges aside, with having to deal with antibiotics preventing you from sort of losing the weight. How are you sort of feeling in terms of what you might sort of think you want to do going forward? I know I asked you this before the fight, and I know it's sort of early after the fight, but have you sort of had any time to think about, hey, I'd like to sort of keep this going for my next fights, rather than moving back up to featherweight? Do you think bantamweight is maybe potentially where you'd like to stay for your next ones going forward?
Yeah, I want to try and keep that way. I'm not saying no, depends what they offer me, but unless anything makes sense, which I can't understand or think about anything that would make sense at featherweight, at this point. I'm not taking a fight at featherweight just to take a fight at featherweight, I don't think. So I feel the future's bantamweight. We'll see, but I feel the future's bantamweight.
Whatever it is, man. I mean, you started the 2024 off with a bang. I mean, a sold-out crowd, 3,600 strong at the HBF Stadium in Perth, Western Australia. Your hometown, of course. Massive crowd there, massive show as it always is. So wherever you sign up to fight, be it at featherweight or bantamweight, man, I mean, we're always there to tune in and see it. I'm always there to tune in and see it. And, of course, we always enjoy having you on the podcast here, man. I think I've had you probably more times than I've had anyone on. So, as always, thank you very much for your time, man. I'll let you go and enjoy this win a little bit more. Heal up, and I'm sure you're back in the gym doing your thing, and we'll see you again sometime soon.
Thanks. Look, always good to talk to you. I just want to say one thing before I finish. If any of my training partners hear this or anyone else, I had such a good time going back home. I went back home and I watched all my, because I was in the back just focusing, and I watched all my training partners fights, and I had such a good time, and I think it was such a good show. We that doesn't always happen, but we won all the fights, all the pro fights, and most of the amateurs, but we won all the pro fights. So I just want to give a big shout out to Khan. Had an awesome knockout. I train with him every day. Awesome dude, very, very skilled. Toby Meach, did amazing as well. Very good boxing, very good. One of my main training partners, we did a lot this camp, and he did awesome. Got an awesome knockout. And Wes Cap always. I think even he's disappointed with his performance, but I think he went through a lot, and it's so awesome to fight on the same card as Wes, who I've literally been watching since I'm a while. But also big shout out to those guys, and it was so awesome to go back home and watch all those fights and to be a part of the fight card with them. So just a big shout out to the guys.
Hell of a shout out, man, and a massive night for Scrappy MMA. Very enjoyable. I know we're just about to break, but I mean, you just made that point. I did actually forget to ask. You were out there at some point. I can't remember with which one of your teammates, but only a few fights before your fight. I'm like, there's Rod Costa in his tracksuit, like with his teammate, and he's fighting in like a few fights. I mean, hats off to you, man. You don't see that very often. Like, that's some wild shit to see you coming out only a few fights before your fight.
That's Edsy. He trains here with me as well. He trains at Scrappy and he trains at Costa here as well. He does jiu-jitsu here with us. And he's I'll tell you what, I like it. I feel like it kind of warms me up a little bit before I have to go and fight.
You get a little free walk out to the cage and do the walk a little bit first, and we'll feel it out. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. But he's very nervy because Adam, he had a little bit of a scare at the very end there. But I did the same thing last fight, and he got a terrible knockout in front of me, and I'm like, am I really gonna go out and fight in a few fights? It's a little bit, it's crazy. He's such a powerful dude, so intense, and but I love going out there and giving him a little bit of support. It's a good time.
Great night all around, like we said, for Scrappy MMA, man. Rod Costa defending his bantamweight title for the first time. Cannot wait to see him back. As we said, Rod, thank you for joining me again, and we will certainly see you in the next one, my friend.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for the chat, brother.